I sang in kindergarten, probably My Country 'Tis of the America the Beautiful, one of those things. It was back in the day when you started your day doing the Pledge Allegiance to the flag and singing all those patriotic songs. And they overheard me singing them and asked me to sing the Lord's Prayer for my kindergarten graduation when I was 4 years old. So that was my first performance. Also at 7, sang for my second grade teacher's wedding, and it was a big Episcopal church. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. She was a white teacher, which I have to include because it was very segregated at that time in Memphis, and it was quite unusual for a white teacher to ask a black child to sing for her wedding, and which she did. And her musical director thought I needed to have voice lessons, but I had to wait until I was 10 years old to do that. So at age 10, I took private lessons from this gentleman. His name was Robert Kirkham. And during that time, he had just started an opera company in Memphis called the Pastiche Opera Company, of which I became a member at age 11. And my first roles were just choir. And then by 13, I did a Puccini role. I did Madame Butterfly when I was 13. So I was a bit of an odd, weird, dweeby kid who was singing this classical music. That's all I did. I grew up in a anthems and hymns Baptist church in Memphis. They did not allow gospel music, so I didn't grow up singing gospel music. And a lot of people told me I would never sing anything else but classical music. They said, you'll just never do it. You just don't have it. A scholarship to undergraduate school in voice, doing classical music, and then I tried my hand at jazz, which went pretty well, but I still didn't think I had it in me to do anything else, but I pushed myself. And eventually, once I moved to LA, I started branching out, and I taught myself to do it. And as a background singer, I have a good ear. And I was able to get some work, and I just got lucky. You have to have a great ear. No question, you have to have a great voice. It's important to have good technique and knowledge of your voice. If you have great technique and you have command over your breath and your support, and you can control your voice and knowledge of different styles of music, you got background singing in the palm of your hand. It helps to be able to read music, of course, to expand into doing other types of session work, not just records, which may not necessarily ask you to read music, but when you're doing music for film, specifically, some television and television commercials, but mostly film, they'll ask you to read charts. So that'll be something else. If you can read music, that just expands your marketability. One of the biggest, most important aspects is relationships. Relationships are everything. There were people who were not wanting to hear whether I was educated or had a degree. I think sometimes that could be an issue with some. So I never ever mentioned it. I never brought it up. And if the assumption was I sang from the church and just came in and started singing, then so be it. It didn't matter to me. I was just grateful and happy to be able to do the gig and get the gig, and that they thought enough of me to think I could do it. Because deep down inside, I was constantly fighting with myself. Can you do it? You got to do the best job. Can you hear it? Are you soulful enough? Can you do that lick? Can you do that riff? Because I didn't grow up doing that. The fun, glamorous part, as silly as it may sound, to me was when I first started with Elton John and we had to do the photo shoot. I was getting makeup and getting fixed up, and all that was for all these different photos that got used over the years. Elton is a big party giver, a great party giver, and one of the things that he would do, he would ask us, who do you like? Who would you like to meet? What star would you want to meet? And I remember I was in love with Richard Gere at the time. I was like, I want to meet Richard Gere. He's like, I'm going to invite Richard Gere to my party then. I was like, freaking great. So to me, that's the perk. And that would happen year after year. We met so many people. I did have an opportunity to watch Elton work, watch him create. And I treasure that more than anything, because as a songwriter, that was transformative for me to see him. Bernie would fax, that was during faxing time, the lyrics to Elton. He just sits him up on the piano, goes, ah, da 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 da. And he plays the blocks of chords. Dun, 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 dun. He sings through a melody. Everything's being recorded as he's working, and then he works it out. Okay, da da da. Okay, that should be for the verse. Da da da. Okay, this is the chorus. He plays through. Okay, next. And then he go to the next song and he do the same thing, song after song after song. And I was like, all of that deliberating, oh, is this the right note? Oh, that can't be the right note. He didn't do any of that. He trusted his gift. He trusted his talent. He never second guessed, not once. And then they would take whatever he came up with and create a track around it. And then the band would record it, and then they'd call us in. And that, to me, was that was the most transformative thing. Trusting yourself, trusting your gift, and never second guessing yourself. You can't beat that. The downfall of being a background singer is you are a jack of all trades, and you are a master of all, because that is your job. Means that you don't really know who you are as an individual, as an artist, like what speaks to me from my heart. This is who I am. And it took a while for me to figure that part out. I always wanted to sing solo. I always knew I wanted to do rock music. Then it became, well, what kind of rock music? But then at that time, they weren't signing a lot of women. At that time, it was right before, the angry white women, the Alanis Morissette. I had played some music for Elton once, and he loved it. He tried to help me get a record deal at that time. When things didn't work out as I had hoped they would, then I gave into it and I gave up trying to make it happen, because at this point I just needed to continue to make a living. Doing sessions and then being on the road, you don't want to stop the money from coming in, and those things take up a whole lot of time and energy. Before you know it, years are down the line and you haven't anything musically to show for it. I didn't have time I would try to record my own stuff and write in between, but it just wasn't going as well as I thought. I did take time off, the little few months we would have off from Elton, which were very few, to try to do some gigs for myself in New York, as a matter of fact. I did CBGB's before they closed, and the Bitter End. I was trying to develop a buzz, but I didn't stay there long enough because I ran out of cash, and I thought I better get back on the road. Now, do you want to be an artist or do you want to be a background singer? You just had to close your eyes and jump and go for it and take a chance. I wasn't willing to do that at that point. I wanted to keep working. I didn't want to stop working. And I couldn't figure out at that time how I could keep both things going. An artist is afraid, just like everybody else, to get out there and do it, but they do it in spite of their fear. I think that defines to me an artist more than other singers, including myself, who are doing background. If you get into a safe cocoon of a environment where you just don't take that chance. I started out co-writing with people. I got called to sing a song demo for this gentleman who was a drummer. He had a publishing deal, and he was a drummer for a heavy metal band. And we wrote a few songs together and recorded them, and they just couldn't come out right. And I liked them, but I didn't love them. I didn't think they were totally representative of who I was as an artist, and I just didn't know how to fix that. And I had mentioned it to some musician friends of mine. They said, you need to learn how to write your own songs. So I wrote some songs and recorded them. And actually, I was on the road with Elton, and I got Davy Johnstone, his musical director, to play guitar on one song, and then a couple other songs. Some of the other band members, I got them to play on some stuff. I also played tennis avidly at that time, and Elton plays tennis. We were at the same tennis club, and he offered me a ride back to the hotel. And I told him, he said, what you doing? I said, I've been writing these songs. I don't know if I'm a songwriter, and I just need to know, you know, if these songs hold up. So he said, give me the songs. I'll check them out for you. I'll let you know. It's like, freaking great. So I gave him the tape, back in the day of tape cassettes. And that's when he came, he said, these are really great songs. You can really write. I'm gonna take this to MCA, which was his label at the time. And I was like, now if Elton John tells me I can write a song, I might be able to write a song. Unfortunately, MCA thought I should be another Patti LaBelle, and it didn't happen. But Elton John told me I could write a song. And from that point on, I was like, you just keep writing, and one day something is going to fall. You just got to keep doing it. Well, the book is called Cafe Gratitude, Memoirs of a Backup Diva. More than anything, just about my journey, because I think it is interesting for people to understand that it's not always easy, and it's not always what you think or what you assume. You'd be amazed at what people go through to get from point A to point B. And for me, it was a rather spiritual journey, not trying to even be so, deciding even at this late a date to aspire to continue into doing a solo artist career, along with other things. I want the songwriting, get more deep into that. The spiritual journey is what's key, and I think that's what will probably be equally of interest to the reader, aside from all the dirt. As a songwriter, you just write, and you don't always get heard or get an opportunity to be heard, and it's just an opportunity to be among other fellow songwriters, and a chance, for people to hear what you got to say, instead of it being just locked up inside of you. That, for me, is the ultimate gift. So that, for me, that's what Qwaqq is.